Chelsea fans, after that heartbreaking 2-1 loss to Fulham, we now shift our attention to the last Premier League game of 2024. Ipswich host Chelsea Monday the 30th of December with a 7:45 kickoff at Portman Road. Can Enzo Maresca's Chelsea end 2024 with a bang? In Enzo Maresca's latest press conference, he mentioned we could see 1, 2 or potentially 3 different changes to this Chelsea squad in the upcoming fixture against Ipswich. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about why Enzo Maresca needs to make these changes for Ipswich versus Chelsea. Not only that, I'm also going to be covering the latest Chelsea news and predicting the Chelsea starting 11. Did you know that 90% of the people watching this video right now are currently not subscribed to the channel? So make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you're a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content. Make sure you join the community and let's get into the video. So let's kick things off with the latest Chelsea news. Fabrizio Romano has reported what Enzo Maresca has said about Liam Delap, and he says Liam Delap is a fantastic player. We spent 1 year together and he scored 24 goals. This is a very good striker. He works hard off the ball and on the ball and understands the game and can score goals. He can be an important player for England. The report continues to say Chelsea consider internally Liam Delap a very good player, and we should not underestimate what Enzo Maresca said about him in public. He's considered very good modern striker. Delap could be one of the names for the summer for Chelsea, unlikely in January. And other clubs want to see how he does in the second half of the season. Dan Sheldon has reported for the front of shirt sponsor, Chelsea is seeking around £60 million per year, which they believe is the going rate for Premier League's elite clubs, especially those competing at the top end of the table. The report continues to say that Chelsea sources have indicated to The Athletic that the shirt sponsorship process is nearing its end. The shirts will have a sponsor before the season ends. Fabrizio Romano also reported that Chelsea are not that busy in January and are not desperate to bring players in. They're very happy with what they are doing. He then continues this report by saying Cassidy, Carney and Chilwell could leave in January, as well as more players, so it's important to understand what Chelsea will do if they do leave. Ben Jacobs has also reported that Chelsea believe Carney Chukwuemeka has big potential and will not be sanctioning a sale for any less than his £40 million release clause. A loan is an option. Kieran Gill has reported that fans will tell you they need a new goalkeeper, but Chelsea have full faith in Robert Sanchez as their number 1 and Philippe Jorgensen as their number 2. He then goes on to report that Chelsea are perfectly pleased with their striker setup, with Jackson ahead of Nkunku and Guiu. The 18-year-old, who is currently top goal scorer in the Conference League with 6 goals in just 284 minutes played. He then finishes his report by saying Chelsea are fairly satisfied with their squad as it stands and will be willing to wait until the summer before making big changes. And finally, the Mail Sport has reported Bournemouth centre-backs Dean Hewson and Alaya Zabanyai are considered by Chelsea and PSG. When it comes to Liam Delap, I would be very happy if Chelsea signed him. I think he's a very good striker in the modern game, and he's also playing for a team who are battling relegation at Ipswich. It will be very interesting to see how he does in the second half of the season, but if Chelsea go in for him, I would be very happy with that. And finally, the front of shirt sponsor saga can finish. It looks like we are closing in on finally having a front of shirt sponsor. Myself and other Chelsea fans have just come to terms with the fact that we're not going to have one, but it does make a massive difference with the PSR regulations. We still don't know exactly who will be the front of shirt sponsor, as we can only go off whispers, but so far in the hat it seems to be Air Jordan, Mercedes, Riyadh Airlines and Qatar Airways. Either way, £60 million a year would be great for PSR if we need to improve the squad. It will be very interesting to see what happens with Carney, Chilwell and Cassidy. For me personally, I would keep Cassidy and Carney and potentially loan them out because they have very high ceilings and bags of potential. Unless the right offer comes in, then I can understand why the club would sell them. But with Ben Chilwell, he's been frozen out of the squad for so long, played 1 game in nearly 6 months, is on high wages and doesn't fit the system. So it looks like he will be finding a way out of Stamford Bridge. And when it comes to the striker setup, a lot of Chelsea fans have been crying out for a new striker. Me personally, I am also very happy with the striker setup we've got. I really still believe in Jackson. Nkunku is a very good player who can play multiple positions, and Mark Guiu is going to be a fantastic striker that could potentially lead the line for Chelsea in the next few years. But at 18 years old, having 284 minutes in a competition and being top goal scorer showed bags of potential. And regarding the Bournemouth centre-backs, I don't know too much about them other than the little bits I've seen them play across this season, and they do look like tidy players. Chelsea will need to go and secure a centre-back purely because of the amount of injuries and the way that we've still got some deadwood that we are looking to offload. So replacements do need to happen. And lastly, when it comes to Chelsea's goalkeeping setup, I think we can all agree we don't want Robert Sanchez as Chelsea's number 1, and we would much rather Philippe Jorgensen gets his chance in the Premier League. So I don't understand what the Chelsea hierarchy or what Enzo Maresca sees in Robert Sanchez, but apparently they are more than happy with that setup and they are waiting for Robert Sanchez to turn into prime check. But that's all we have for the Chelsea news. Let's get into predicting the Chelsea starting 11. So when it comes to the starting 11 to play Ipswich, it's going to be very interesting because Enzo Maresca did say there'll be 1, 2 or potentially 3 changes to the squad that faces Ipswich because he feels like a change is needed. And I think Chelsea fans would love to agree we do need to change something. It's just where are these changes going to come from? I still feel that Robert Sanchez is going to be the Chelsea goalkeeper, even though we don't want him as number 1. He had, in my opinion, he had a very good game against Ipswich. It was just his distribution wasn't great, and that the long ball for the second goal, even though I would say that the team didn't deal with the fact that Fulham received it on the halfway line, it ultimately came to Sanchez because if he played a side pass to Tosin, danger avoided. But we won't keep slagging Sanchez off. Other than that, he has been pretty solid and he is showing signs of improvement. We've just got to make sure he has no silly mistakes and he can just play simple football because that's all that Enzo Maresca is asking him to do. As a shot stopper, he is very good and he's made some incredible saves. He did a few massive saves against Fulham to keep us in it. So that is also something worth bearing in mind. I'd personally like to see Jorgensen get a run out, especially in the Prem, just to see how he does. Moving on to left back, for me, there's only one person for it. If Cucurella is fit, you play him. Simple as that. Cucurella must play. He's the best left back in the league, in my opinion. He can invert. Naturally, he can play part of a back three very well. He can join the attack. He laps up on the left-hand side, specifically with Sancho very well. He can just do everything. You find him in the number 10 pockets if he's inverting. I think he's just an absolute beast, so he has to start if he is fit. When it comes to the centre-backs, this is where I think you could potentially have one of the changes. I think you're going to go with Levi Colwill. I think that is a given. I think Levi Colwill is our best defender. Definitely the most consistent defender. Regardless if you feel like he needs to improve or not based on the last game, I still think he's our best defender. When it comes to the centre-back and the right-back, this is where I feel that Enzo Maresca is talking about when he talks about changes, because you could potentially have Tosin partnering Colwill, and I quite like that partnership. I think Tosin is doing well game by game, and I feel like he had a very good game against Fulham, even though Fulham admin had something different to say. And obviously, Badiashile and Fofana are still out, so it kind of makes sense. However, you could also play Disasi there, who I think this season has put some very solid performances together. However, on the right back, you could also put Disasi in there so we can invert from the left. You could have Colwill, Tosin, and Disasi as a back three. You could also stick with Malo Gusto. You could also use Josh Ashimpong if you feel like Gusto needs to be changed. There's a lot of options here. So what do I go with? I'm actually going to go with Colwill, Tosin as the centre-back partnership. But when it comes to the right-back, I'm actually going to go with Josh Ashimpong because I feel like Malo Gusto hasn't been as good as he, the standards he sets himself, he's not been playing to that ability. And I think Josh Ashimpong has played very well, admittedly on European nights, but when he has played in a Chelsea shirt, he has been very good in showcasing why he wants that pathway to be able to play more first-team minutes. This could be an opportunity to play Ashimpong. Again, you could essentially have Disasi as a right-back, so you can have Colwill, Tosin, and Disasi as a back three and invert Cucurella from the left. There are a lot of options, but I would actually go with Ashimpong, give Gusto a rotation, because I just don't think he's been performing to the standards that he is happy with, and especially Maresca and Chelsea fans are happy with also. When it comes to this midfield too, I feel like it's nailed on. Now, I am going to talk about one thing, potentially. One, we want to see Romeo Lavia play. He's an incredible footballer. He just can't stay fit. But Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez, what a partnership they really are. They are such a good partnership. And this season, they're really showing their price tag. Enzo Fernandez is playing some of the best football he's played in a Chelsea shirt. And Caicedo has been consistently the best DM in the Premier League for the last 12 months. And people are starting to realise. My only problem is the amount of games they're going to have to play together. We need some rotation there. And this could be something that is addressed in the January transfer window. Santos has played amazing over at Strasbourg. I'd actually recall him if Lavia can't stay fit to give us more dynamics within that holding midfield role. That way, Caicedo could get a rest. Enzo Fernandez could get a rest. And you'd have players like Lavia who could play bit parts, but plays very, very well with his intense role for bit parts of the games that he's fit for. Or you've got Andre Santos that can actually play that role very well. And you could just give these two players the rest that they deserve, because I don't feel confident playing KDH and Cassidy in the 6-6 roles in the Premier League. I just don't think they're quite cut out for it or quite ready enough in terms of Cassidy's side. But it has to be Caicedo and Enzo for me, purely because this partnership has been so good to watch. When it comes to the front three, this is where I also feel like Enzo Maresca could make the biggest change. On the left-hand side, I'm actually going to go with João Felix. Now, I've said before this season that I'm not a big fan of João Felix or Nkunku playing out wide. However, I think it's gone on long enough now where Felix deserves to get more minutes. We should be seeing him play more, especially in the Premier League. We have a big gap between now and March, which is when the Conference League starts again. And I feel like, as much as I love Sancho, I think he's played very well. He's one of my favourite players currently in the Chelsea shirt. I feel like putting João Felix on the left-hand side could give us a very different dynamic against Ipswich. And I think it could work very well. Because when you then play Cole Palmer in the middle, which we know is the first name on the team sheet for Chelsea, you have Cole Palmer and João Felix in the same team. And now we've seen this, we've seen glimpses of it, we've seen like a half of it or just over a half of a game. And it worked very well, very fluid attack in football. And I feel like we should be seeing this more often. And I feel like that's something that Enzo Maresca can do. On the right-hand side, I think Pedro Neto was one of our best performers against Fulham. Defensively, he was outstanding, and he had a lot of work to do defensively. Even going forward, he's high intensity, always trying to get crosses in the box, always trying to beat a man. I think he's fantastic. However, I feel like this will be the bounce back for Noni Madueke. We heard through the media and through Maresca that it was a technical reason why he wasn't in the squad, not a fitness issue. That says to me that Maresca said that, Noni, you're not training hard enough. You're not training hard enough, so we need more from you so you can get back into the squad. And I feel like he's the type of player that's been told this before. He was dropped, I think, against Villa, bounced back in the next game, had a very good game. And I feel like the same thing could happen tomorrow against Ipswich, where we could actually see a front three of Felix, Palmer and Madueke. And I look at that and think that is frightening. Now, when it comes to the number 9, a lot of people are screaming out for Mark Guiu or Christopher Nkunku to start. Now, if I'm being honest, I hear you. And I would back it to the high heavens. However, for me, mate, it's got to be Jackson. It's got to be Nicholas Jackson. I've spelled that wrong. That's embarrassing. It's got to be Nicholas Jackson. He has had such a good season so far, and especially in the TikTok comments, a couple of the comments in the YouTube section as well. People are saying Jackson isn't good enough. He needs to improve. We need to go buy Osman. We need to go buy Gyökeres. We need to go buy Sesko. We need to go buy Isaac. All of these strikers after he has a bad game. And I understand it. It's frustrating. We're reactionary. We want better. And Nicholas Jackson did miss some big opportunities against Fulham. I hear you. However, 9 league goals before the end of the year. 3 assists, I think. What a transformation based on his last year performance of 14 non-penalty Premier League goals across the whole season. He's nearly caught up with that, and it's just about to turn 2025. This is the last game of this year where he could get double digits in terms of league goals. And I think you just got to stick with him. I think he is Chelsea's main striker, like in the earlier reports of Jackson as the number 1, Nkunku as the second, Guiu as the third, purely because of his age. Now, do I want to see more minutes from Nkunku and Mark Guiu? Of course I do. I am with you there. But I feel like you start with Nicholas Jackson. Jackson and Palmer's link-up is great when they get the opportunities. And it'd be interesting to see how Felix and Madueke can link up with Jackson in a game like Ipswich. Because on paper, yes, we should be going and getting the 3 points. But based on our recent form of a draw or a loss, and we're going away to Ipswich, where Maresca isn't happy with some of the players' performances and wants some changes, this is a big game to end 2024 with a bang. We need the 3 points because we've dropped points in the last 2 games. So that is my predicted Chelsea 11 to face Ipswich away at Portman Road this Monday in the Premier League. Do you agree with my lineup or do you disagree? Which players would you play? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section. I love having a conversation with you guys. Now, I personally feel like Enzo Maresca needs to make these changes to get the win at Portman Road because this showcases our squad depth, and without the Conference League game or any other competition game for a little while now, it's a good exercise to get these players that are on the fringe, struggling for minutes, back on the pitch and proving their worth. But that's just my opinion, and I would love to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. And if you did make it this far to the end of the video, there'll be a thumbnail that pops up on the screen. So if you are a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content, make sure you click that thumbnail because you'll enjoy that video too.